Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. How are you doing today? Hope you are having a sunny day. Ready for some news stories from Ask a Lawyer? Let's go to the first one, about OP's stepdaughter, who is trying to sabotage OP's marriage with his wife. Listen to the story, guys, to find out all the details, and of course to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I, 38 male, was married to my ex-wife for 7 years. We split up after my 8-year-old son passed away. She was the one who decided the best way to recover from this tragedy is separation, but I respected her decision. I'm now married to my current wife and have a 14-year-old stepdaughter. Her dad is not in the picture. My wife took her to live with us, and as like she says, she's been stuck living with me for over 2 years. She's a smart kid, very vocal when it comes to her feelings. She told me many times that I built my happiness by destroying and tearing her family apart. She'd constantly say that I'm not and will never be her dad. She'd try to pull off tricks that are beyond her age. Example, claiming that I say and do things that aren't real. She'd throw out any gifts I bring her and badmouth me to my wife's family. Lately, I've been noticing my wife's phone constantly receiving texts from unknown number. My wife didn't tell me about those texts and just deleted them. But the texts continued. I decided to look into it, and it looked as if someone who knew my wife was trying to reach her, basically sending her romantic text like it was an ex or a secret lover. I was mad. I started having suspicions, especially when my wife didn't tell me. I talked to her about it. We had a huge argument, her saying she had no idea who it was, and she didn't want me to get her wrong, so she deleted them. I spent nights on the couch. Things were this bad between us. I noticed stepdaughter being quieter than usual, and just being in her mother's ear, telling her that I'm a jerk, loser. After having anxiety over this whole texting thing, I was able to download an app that identifies the number through looking it up in the search engine, and found that it was registered on a family member's name. I was stunned. I immediately recognized that it must have been my stepdaughter, because I remember her mention that she got herself a new SIM card registered on her 24-year-old cousin's name. I confronted her. She started yelling at me and crying, saying that she didn't do it. Her mom was able to look into her messages and found everything. I told my wife I don't want stepdaughter living with me anymore. What she did was awful. It's been going on for weeks and it caused us to fight. She was trying to drive a wedge between us and had some nerve to try something like that and expect to get away with it. Edit to answer some of your questions. 1. Wife and I had been married 8 months after she divorced her ex. 2. It's my house and stepdaughter's been living with us for over a year. 3. Wife and I met after the divorce. So stepdaughter claiming I destroyed her family only means that she was hoping her mom and dad would get back together in the future. But I caved that hope. Well, OP is clearly in the wrong here. OP is saying her dad isn't in the picture, but she blames OP for tearing the family apart. There may or may not be more to it, but either way, she's a child. Of course she wants her mom and dad to be happily ever after. That's normal. OP needs to accept her as part of your family, make her feel welcome and at home, and that she isn't disposable, and go to some family therapy. Children do weird things when they feel threatened. She knows her mom loves her, so she wants to make sure she surrounds herself with whatever makes her feel safe and secure. Marrying someone with kids is a package deal. OP should know this and be the adult he is supposed to be and help a child who is obviously hurting. And now let's see if the community agrees with me. Deleted user says, "You're the a-hole. Where is this 14-year-old child supposed to go? I understand she did something wrong, but unless you plan to also not live with your wife, I'm not sure how not living with the stepdaughter is going to work. Is your wife just supposed to abandon her child? It's one thing to punish the girl, but to demand that she doesn't live there anymore when she doesn't even have another parent she could live with is ridiculous." Jaded Cryptographer says, "You're the a-hole. Sure, she's being immature, but she's a literal child, and you are a literal adult. Deal with it like the grown-up you supposedly are. And at the end, your stepdaughter is going to continue living with her mother since that is the only parent she has. If you really don't want to live with her, you can move out." Little Miss Griff says, "I mean, your wife isn't going to kick her daughter out, so if you want her out, I'm guessing that means you're getting divorced." I met my girlfriend a year ago when she was the manager at my work. Instantly fell in love, and she asked me to move in. I knew her story, and she has a son that she only sees on Saturday night every 3 weeks. I've fallen in love with her son, and I'm way more of a daddy to him than his POS father, who only has custody because he's military, and they run the courts in this city. I bought him a PS5, and I pay for his martial arts, and he's my son. I want to show him what it means to be a man who takes responsibility seriously. We have been saving to pay a lawyer so we can get a much better custody arrangement, and right now her ex can move if the military requires him to. We need to get into court before that comes up. Yesterday, my girlfriend went out and spent almost $400 on new clothes. I told her she can't do this. I'm working so hard at my job. And she did make a point that they may have lost the original custody battle because her ex came in uniform, and her clothes were from Target. I said that we don't even have a court date yet, and we have an appointment with a lawyer next week, and it's going to be $800 for 2 hours. She said we could pay on her credit card as long as I pay it off. I said I don't want to pay interest, and she accused me of not caring about her kid. I said the outfit was a really bad idea, and she said she had a plan, and she's the one with experience, so I need to shut up. Now we are in a huge fight, and I don't know what to do. I love her and want to make her happy, but this doesn't seem like she respects what I'm trying to do for her and her son, you know? How can we solve this? I want her to take the clothes back, but she freaked out on me and called me every name in the book, and she locked the door to the bathroom. Well, OP is a bit delusional to call himself a father to this boy he has seen once a month for the year he's been dating his mother. OP has all the best intentions, but he needs to back up because it's obvious OP's girlfriend is taking advantage of OP. I promised the judge wouldn't care less what she wore to court. They grant custody based on what is in the best interest of the child, not who dressed better. Also, I think there are huge gaps in this story. Why is the dad a POS? Sounds like he raises this kid 339 days of the year. But OP says he's more of a father to him? And now let's hear the community's opinion. Madeline Gumbo says, everyone sucks here. Nobody only gets to see their child one evening a month because they wore clothes from Target to court. And if you're only seeing this kid one Saturday night every 3 weeks, you're not more of a father than the man who has him all the rest of the time, even if you bought him a video game console. It sounds like both of you have gaps in understanding financial matters and parenting. Fool me once, shame on you says, everyone sucks here. And why do I suspect that you're significantly younger than your girlfriend? Look, she's taking advantage of you. This is not a good person. She moved in because you're head over heels for her and willing to pay for everything, but you are clearly easily influenced. But dollars to donuts, she cares more about her ex not having custody than about actually being a good full-time parent to her kid. Because she is already massively irresponsible and showing signs of poor impulse control and anger management, all of which make her an a-hole. Mothers don't get to see their kids one night every 3 weeks because the military run the courts in this town. 2BuckChuck99 says, I just read your other posts. You're a 19 male and she's a 27 female. I'm willing to bet that your love is entirely predicated on the fact that she has rocked your world in the sack, and you're now rationalizing all kinds of red flag behavior because she rocks your world. Get out of this. I promise you, she will screw up your life, bud. The situation involves myself, 28 female, my parents, 60s, and my younger brothers, one older, two younger. The financial context is that I am fortunate to be making a solid salary, but have a stressful job. Since my dad is retired and due to cost of college, my parents are now very tight on money. This week, my mom had asked me to lend them $3,000 for my little brother's tuition payment, as the financial aid office was months behind on processing, and they would pay me back at the end of this year. I had offered in the past that if they really needed it, I could lend them a few $1,000s for my little brother's tuition, but was uncomfortable with being asked. I reluctantly sent the money. I then asked my mom what the status was on my older brother paying them back on his legal fees, related expenses. For context, my brother has been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and the impulsiveness that comes with it led to some pretty poor decisions and legal issues. Over the years, he owes my parents $8,000 to $10,000 in legal and related fees. He's lucky he's in a more stable position now, and while he makes an okay salary, he's able to pay rent and otherwise support himself, and has enough money for domestic trips, nice dinners out, etc. My mom informed me that he had paid them a little bit of what he owes them, but she isn't pressuring him to pay them back at the moment, as he is paying off unrelated medical bills. I was frustrated, because I was under the impression he was continuously paying it down over the years. Here's where I may have crossed the line. I live on the opposite coast as my immediate family, and it's expensive to pay for myself to fly home for Christmas. I told my mom that if she doesn't have my brother at least start making smaller, good faith payments, that can be larger ones once his medical bills are paid off, then I'm not coming home for Christmas. I don't feel comfortable that I'm effectively bailing him and my parents out because they refuse to hold him accountable. He could cut down on dinners out, etc., which he has frequent, expensive dinners out, and start to pay them back. My mom feels like I'm trying to control her actions, which I am since it's now affecting me, and doesn't want to pressure my brother because she doesn't want him to end up in a bad depressive state. I think that having a frank conversation to have him start paying back in increments that won't be a financial burden is an extremely reasonable ask given their financial state. So, am I the a-hole? While I completely understand OP's frustration and slight outrage, I think OP is a little bit in the wrong here. OP's mom is right that OP does not get to control her actions. OP's brother's debt is between him and them. OP doesn't get a say in it. What OP gets a say in is whether she loans her parents money again. OP might not want to spend Christmas with her older brother. That's fine, OP's choice. But OP can't try and blackmail her parents. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Low Balance says, not the a-hole. Just a thought. To ensure the money is going to your little brother's education, can you just pay the school directly? Bidge Bodge says, I think a lot of these responses don't understand the pressure of parenting an adult child with a severe mental health illness. The fear of a relapse is terrifying. If you didn't want to lend the money, you shouldn't have offered. And now emotionally blackmailing your parents is a total jerk move. Go home for Christmas and be grateful you have parents who are trying to do their best by their kids with very different challenges, or stay at home graciously. You're the a-hole. Garden Weed Tender says, yes, I think you're the a-hole. You have absolutely no obligation to help if you don't want to, or feel that money isn't being put to good use. Though if I understand you correctly, you're the one who offered in the first place. But you shouldn't meddle in the way your parents handle their financial entanglements with your older brother. It's simply not your business, especially as from your story, they were asking you for a loan while they waited for a payment to come through, not to give them money to spend on him. If they want to help him, even if it means money is tight for them, that's up to them. You're too old to be keeping score. If that loan made it hard for you to pay for a flight home, you'd be justified in taking a rain check. Using it as a threat or as a form of leverage is just petty. For some context, I married my wife almost right out of college at age 22. A lot of people said I was rushing things, but we didn't care. My grandma loved my girlfriend at the time, now wife, and she knew I was a broke college kid, so she offered me her engagement ring to give to her. It was an amazing surprise. She and my grandpa were married 50 years before he passed away, and I love having the ring be part of my marriage as well. It's not important to me, but for context, it's a very nice ring that would new probably be more than $10,000. She unfortunately passed 2 years ago. It's been 7 years, and now my brother, I'll call Charlie, 31 male, who has been with his girlfriend for 6 years, wants to propose. He unfortunately has been hit by a layoff this year, so money is a little tight for him. He asked me since I got my ring free, if I'd go in with him to pay for an engagement ring. I honestly thought that was ridiculous. If he had asked for a loan, I may have been open, but he just straight up asked me to pay for part of it. My wife and I are fortunate to both have good jobs, but we have a kid now and are trying for another, so we are not big spenders. His girlfriend has a good job, but for obvious reasons, he doesn't want to ask her to pay for her own engagement ring. I personally think he should just pay for the ring he can afford, and if she wants to at a later time in life, upgrade it when their finances are better. He's telling me I'm being an a-hole who lucked out with a free ring, and saying I'm being selfish by not at least helping. I feel like that's a little ridiculous, but when I was telling my coworker about it, he said he understands Charlie's point and that I did not look out. Stellar Phenom 420 says, not the a-hole. Your grandma's property was hers to give. I only presume she left a will that your brother was part of, at whatever level grandma was able to and considered prudent. He's not an a-hole for asking, but he does have to accept your no. Given that our society is individualistic, he shouldn't really expect help from his family like that. If we had a more communal society, where we took care of each other and shared our bounties with each other, then maybe, but we don't live like that. Major Barnacle says, not the a-hole. Unfortunately, this is one of those situations where timing in life did not play out to treat you and your sibling with an exact equal result. But it's not your job to even out your grandma's gift to you. It sounds like your grandmother's connection to your now wife was a factor in her decision. You're correct that your brother should save up and buy a ring within his means. It's still about the sentiment and thought that counts, not about the value. I would have said there were no a-holes if he had simply asked and accepted your no with grace. But his calling you selfish puts this solidly in the not the a-hole for me. You have your own expenses. Solo Throwaway says, why is bro getting engaged now? What's the rush? It's weird that they've been together for 6 years and he's thinking of proposing now that he's been laid off. He's waited 6 years. He can wait until he gets a job and saves the money. You don't owe him anything. Your grandma died 2 years ago, after he'd been with his girlfriend for 4 years. She had plenty of time to gift him something, like whatever she gave your mom and aunt, but chose not to. It's not your responsibility to make up for it. Not the a-hole. Bro is. I, 28 female, have a younger sister, 25 female, who is getting married next month. She has always been very spoiled and entitled by our parents, who are very wealthy. She has a habit of demanding expensive things and throwing tantrums if she doesn't get them. She asked me to be her maid of honor, which I agreed to, even though I don't really like her fiancé. He is a jerk who cheats on her and treats her poorly, but she's too blind to see it. She also asked me to pay for half of her wedding dress, which cost $10,000. I was shocked and refused. I told her that it was not my responsibility to pay for her dress, and that she should either buy a cheaper one or ask our parents for money. She got very angry and called me selfish and jealous. She said that I was trying to ruin her wedding and that I didn't love her. She also said that I owed her because she paid for my college tuition when our parents cut me off. This is true, but only because I chose to study something they didn't approve of, art history. She studied business and got a full scholarship, so she didn't need their money. She only paid for my tuition because she wanted to control me and make me feel guilty. She's been harassing me ever since, calling and texting me every day, begging and threatening me to pay for her dress. She even got our parents involved, who sided with her and said that I was being unreasonable and ungrateful. They said that they would cut me off completely if I didn't pay for the dress. I feel like I'm going crazy. I don't think I'm the a-hole here, but everyone else seems to think so. Am I missing something? Am I the a-hole? Angie 1907 says, "Everyone sucks here. You both sound utterly exhausting. Your parents sound like awful parents. You sound incredibly ungrateful that your sister paid your tuition. It doesn't matter what you believe her motivation to be. She did you a huge favor. I'm assuming that she didn't put conditions on her paying your tuition, and so she has no right to demand you pay for her dress." HK 2007 says, "Everyone sucks here. Pay her back for the college tuition and call it even." OK Weather says, "Not the a-hole. I strongly suggest you pay back the tuition so it's not hung over your head like the sword of Damocles in the future. Seriously, if you give her any money towards the dress, write in the memo line on a check, repayment for tuition.